It is now 5 days after Election Day, and in a very positive, surprising sign for the Democrats, the House of Representatives control has still not been called. As you can see, where it stands from the New York Times, which is very cautious with their projections. They don't want to prematurely project any winners and get it wrong. Democrats are at 202 seats. Republicans are at 213. You need 218 for control. But it really gets better when you call some of these uncalled races that the New York Times has, but a lot of them you really can call. New York Times doesn't want to do it prematurely, but a lot of some of these I just don't understand why they can't call it. And for example, you got Louisiana 6th district. The Democrat is up by 13 points with over 95% of the vote in. Obviously, the Democrat is going to win there. You have quite a few seats like that, and Decision Desk HQ really gives us a better look on where it stands. So as you could see, Democrats are at 209, Republicans are at 216, according to Decision Desk HQ. And again, you need 218 to win, but just look at how they're projected the seats to go. As you see, a lot more of the uncalled seats are projected to go to Democrats than they are Republicans. Democrats are expected to get 215 seats. Republicans are expected to get 220. Again, 218 is majority. So as you could see, with just an error of 3 seats, Republicans are down and Democrats are at 218 and they win majority. If Democrats just outperform this model by 3 seats, just 3, which is absolutely doable because you've got a number of these races that are just so razor thin and so hard to call, Democrats are already at 218. As you can see, the Republican chances of winning the House, it was at 92%, 93%. On November 10th, this was, well, never mind. I don't know when this was exactly. November 8th, that is. I don't know the time. So 2 days ago, they were expected to have a 94% chance of winning the election. Today, that has fallen to just 80%. So this map, as we get closer to filling in every single district, to call every single district, it looks more and more positive for Democrats. As you can see, they are making gains. And somehow, despite very disappointing results for Democrats in the presidential and Senate results, they're doing very well in the House races, which is definitely an interesting dynamic you don't see alongside such negative results for a presidential candidate for example, in this example, the Democratic Party. So as you can see, there are 11 seats I believe that are uncalled. I don't know, I wish they told us. There are a number of seats that are uncalled. So you've got a lot of them where they have been called by other organizations where Democrats really are favored. For example, you've got what this video is about in the title and everything, the 27th District of California, where 85% of the vote is in, and George Whiteside's has actually taken the lead over Mike Garcia, the incumbent Republican. That is you know, a really odd thing in for example, in this district, because Mike Garcia was able to hang on in 2020. Despite everyone thinking he would lose, he won, he hung on in 2020, more blue wave year. He hung on in 2022, a very mixed year for Democrats and Republicans. And it's now taking a red wave year, as we are seeing in 2024, for Mike Garcia to finally lose. And it's not just him. Before we even expected to do Kamala Harris, or I should say, when we thought Kamala Harris would do much better than she did in reality, we thought that Marie Gluesenkamp Perez could lose in Washington's 3rd district. She hung on by 5 points, or more like 4 points. Jared Golden, no one had faith in her, even when this year was supposed to be more positive for the Democrats than it was in reality. Jared Golden has hung on by a point, but it will probably have to go to ranked choice voting regardless. In Maine's 2nd district. So there have been a number of Democrats who have hung on, or in this case, in the 27th district, actually flipping Republican-held seats. So as you can see, in the 27th district of California, a lot of organizations like this election center has already called it for George Whitesides. The remaining votes are supposed to be very positive for George Whitesides, and the fact that he took the lead now from that batch of votes that came in that weren't supposed to be favorable for him, he is are almost certainly going to win that district. So even, Decision Desk is going to be very cautious and right mature with their callings. They don't want to call anything prematurely and be wrong and their reputation diminished for a good reason, obviously. This is the map right now, according to the New York Times. They say that there are 9 toss-up seats, but as you can see, as we just talked about, Whiteside's heavily favored to win in California's 27th. You've got Janelle Bynum in Oregon. Oregon, I don't know why they're not calling it 87% in. Bynum is up by 3 points. This is another flip, too. Decision Desk has called this one. But this is another flip for the Democratic Party. Lori Chavez Duermer won in 2022. This is a flip for the Democrats. Bynum is going to beat her by basically 3% in this very Republican positive year. So, in the Senate, presidency. Very good results for the Republicans, but they're really suffering some major losses in the House. And remember, Republicans control the House right now. So if Democrats did win the House, it would actually be a flip in control of power. That is something that's a dynamic that you wouldn't expect to see if you only saw all the other results so far in this election. So again, Whiteside's Bynum in Oregon and California. They will likely win. New York Times hasn't called Maine second, but of course, Decision Desk has. Decision Desk has also called Ohio's ninth with Marcy Kaptur. A very tight win for Marcy Kaptur here, winning by just 0.3%. But that is a win for Marcy Kaptur. And, Decision Desk wouldn't prematurely call races. They want their reputation, of course, to be strong. You've got Iowa's first district. This one's a bit iffy, but the Republican is up by just 800 votes. Whoops. Just 800 votes, but Decision Desk has called this one for Marionette Miller Meeks, just 0.2%, 800, or what, even less. Or no, about 800 votes. In Iowa's first. So those are some of the results so far that Decision Desk has called, as well as, of course, Louisiana sixth. Of course, I don't know. I don't understand the reasoning, as I said, with not calling Louisiana sixth, with over 95% in, 51%. It might be because of runoff. I think that Louisiana does runoffs. But that one is going to go to the Democrat regardless if there is a runoff or not. And then looking at California, Josh Harder will win up there. I think that Decision Desk has caught. No, they haven't. So, he is favored, but only 64% in. So it really comes down in the end. You've got a lot of these other states where one party is favored, but it really comes down to these California districts because so little of the vote is in. I think that they called a couple of these seats, like I maybe we could try to zoom in here, but Mike Levin, for example, they called. So David Minn's seat is going to be extremely tight. So we can call Mike Levin. That's huge for Democrats. That puts them at 208. And then they've got, David Min. So this is going to be a hold for Democrats if they do in fact keep it. But look at these seats. I mean, a better example is just looking at this chart that the New York Times gives us. And you see that look at these districts where so few of or so little, I should say, of the vote is in. You've got California's 13th. John Duarte, the Republican incumbent, is up by 3 points, 3,000 votes. But look, 62% is in. Just 62%. That is so little. Almost 40% of votes are still outstanding. That result could flip in an instant. We have to see more votes to see how the House is going to land. You've got Michelle Steele up by 3% in California's 45th. She's an incumbent over Derek Tran, but only 80% is in. That could so easily flip with, a quarter or I should say, a fifth of the votes still outstanding. Ken Calvert in California's 41st, up by 3, but only 61% in. And even in the massive lead in David Valadero being up 7 in California's 22nd, a quarter of the votes are still outstanding. A quarter. That could also flip. That'd be narrow. Obviously, Valadero is favored to win. I believe that Decision Desk, Decision Desk has called Valadero the winner, so we could fill him in there. But it, absolutely still possible. Oh, Democrats also have no, wow. Okay, Jim Costa still uncalled. Wow, that's a very tight race in the 21st district of California. That I wasn't expecting too much. It wasn't really on my radar. But regardless, Democrats still have a massive shot to win. Again, it's all going to come down to these close districts in California where you still have so much of the vote in. And you look at this and you say, oh, 218 need for control. Republicans are already so close. Democrats are so distant. But look at these Democratic seats. Again, this is like Louisiana 6. They haven't called it. Takano's up by 12 in California's 39th with 63% in. They haven't called him. Decision Desk has called that one. Stanton is going to win his seat. 90% is in. In Arizona's 4th, he's up by 7. He is winning that race. Mike Levin, heavily favored to win. Bynum, heavily favored to win. Decision Desk has called both of those. You see, a wide range of these seats have already been called, and it puts them a lot closer, right, than it looks like, based off of the seats that the New York Times has won, or has called. And then you go up to the Republicans, and you don't find something similar. Decision Desk has called California, their 22nd district, sure, up 7 points. But you look beyond that, and Decision Desk hasn't called a single additional one. They've called Valadeo. They haven't called Schweiker. They haven't called Nick Begich in Alaska. They haven't called Ken Calvert in California, or Michelle Steele, or John Duarte. The only one they've called is Valadeo. So, in reality, Democrats are heavily favored to win a good chunk of these seats. Republicans are only heavily favored to win one. It's going to come down to a number of toss-up seats, in these western states, as well as these California seats that may not be all that much of toss-ups in the end, but they are just so slow in counting votes. I saw this district, one of these toss-up districts, the final results, or not even the final ones, the latest results are going to be released on Thursday of this week. Thursday. California's awful at counting votes. They take forever, but we got to live with it. But it does make it more exciting. But look, story put plainly, this is going to be marginal. Whoever wins control of the House, it's going to be by a seat, by 2 seats, maybe by 3, maybe by 4, maybe by 5. No, definitely not by 5. And we're gonna have to wait for a while to find these rules, to find out who will win control of the House. And again, as you can see, I bring up this projection again. This is Decision Desk HQ's projected seats. Democrats are 215. All they have to do, win these seats where they're favored, and win an additional 3 more. Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? No. But again, very, very, very possible. And they have control of the House in a stunning fashion of an upset. But when it comes to my prediction, again, I think that all the seats filled in will go how they go. I'm finding this out for the first time, too, who I think will win. You've got Alaska. Alaska, I think Mary Peltola holds on. The Republican is leading Nick Begich, but the remaining votes are almost all mail-in ballots. They're going to be very favorable for Mary Peltola. And look at that, 76% is in. You still got a quarter of the votes in. So Nick Begich should be up by more. I think that Peltola is honestly favored in Alaska. Looking at her past victories, I don't know why she would suddenly lose in this election. I really don't. Now, let's see. Again, it's going to be very close. However it goes. But you've got Josh Harder. In what district is that? What number? You got Josh Harder in the 9th district. And you've got Jim Costa in the Silicon Valley district, in the 21st district. Both of them must be favored. I'd really be surprised if either of them lose, to be completely honest. And then you've got Mark Takano. He's been in office for a while. He's leading by 12 points. No reason to think he'll lose. As of now, that's a pretty solid margin there, but very little vote is in, so that's why it hasn't been called. I think that he's favored. And then you've got, of course, you've got David Min in the 47th district. I'd say that he's very narrowly favored looking at his lead right now of a point with 82% in. This one's essential for Democrats keeping majority. David Min winning. This is Katie Porter's former district, but she's out. That is crucial for majority for Dems in the House. That's absolutely necessary. And then they've got, this one's really interesting. Wasn't on my radar too much, but Michelle Steele against Derek Trin. This one looks very close in California's 45th district. Michelle Steele up by 2 points, but again, these are so hard to call. When you've got a fifth of the vote out and it's basically tied, it could go either way. You've got Ken Calvert, only 60% in, and he's only up by 2%. It could go either way. And then the 13th district, 62% in. John Duarte is up by 2%. These are so hard to call. when it comes, we'll get to those in a second. I think that Republicans, they're slowly gaining in Caraveo's district in Colorado, the 8th district, Gabe Evans. He is slowly inching along. I think that he will flip that seat in Colorado. That puts them at 217. And then they've got Arizona, David Schweiker, 90% in. He's up by 4. He's probably going to win there. And then this one keeps going back and forth in Arizona 6. I think that Democrat is actually favored here when all votes are counted. I would put Schweiker in the lead there. I would put Kirsten Engel beating Juan Kiscomani in Arizona there. So it all comes down to these California districts that'll take forever to count the votes. I think that Democrats should feel good about Ken Calvert's district. That's what I've thought this entire race. But I mean, these votes in, when you've got 60% in, it's no much better of a prediction now, knowing what we know, than from before the election. The only thing that helps us is these other results that we see nationwide. Conventional wisdom, Duarte should hang on, but that one could be a flip. And again, conventional wisdom here, but Michelle Steele should hang on. So just a very, very, very narrow majority, but it could really go either way. I don't know exactly how Senate majority will go. Really, all the ones you see here are toss-ups right now. We don't have much to tell us who will win. So Republicans are at 216, Democrats are at 212. Basically a toss-up. So thank you all for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all later.